Time, I do have a few questions for you all, if you're okay with answering them. For Kelly and Tanya, I was specifically curious. This book just feels like a beautiful memory, like from start to finish, like even the illustrations. And I'm just curious, like, what was the best part of working on this book together for each of you?
Well, for me, I was just in awe of how Tanya really captured the heart and the spirit of every moment in the story. This is a book that really came from inspired by my childhood love for my grandmother and the closeness that we shared. And it's just so amazing that Tanya was able to tap into that as well and really bring it to life as if she was there with us. And so I just love, and another thing I love about Tanya's art is how she extends the meaning beyond just what I say in the words. So when there's the spread, actually, I'll show it on the screen. One of my favorite spreads of hers is this one, where you see all the different roles that grandma has played. And I think that was just so masterful to just, kind of trace her life through the lines on her hands and all the different things that she's been and done. I also love Tanya's kind of recalling Alvin Ailey when grandma talks about wanting to be a dancer and going to the studio at night. I thought that was really beautiful. I mean, I could talk about Tanya's art for days, but I'll just show one other favorite of mine, and that's when Zoe, is the little girl's name, finds the power in her own hands. I think that our editor, Eileen Robinson, did such an amazing job of bringing us together, and it was just such a perfect collaboration and hope to work with Tanya again.
And those happen to be my favorite pages to illustrate as well.
Oh,
Like, so because the way that you brought the different dimension of the grandmother's life to the story is something you don't often see in children's books, or that children don't get to see. They see one dimension, that's the one that they know of grandma, but what about all the things that make her who she is today, like her history, her dreams, the things that she may have wanted in her own life, the dance. Like I really enjoyed bringing that dimension you know, to the book in the best way that I could. And that was the most fun. I really enjoyed that, especially the lines in the hand. You think of story, fortune telling in a way, and you wanted to show her history as opposed to her fortune, you know, in those same lines. Thank you for that.
I have to say that what you just said, Tanya, about the lines in the hands and like showing everything where the grandmother has been, who she's been, there's a sentence towards the end that says, "But you'll go places I've never been." And
Mm.
that just like warmed my heart from the deepest parts of my soul. I just thought it was so beautiful because our mothers, our grandmothers they have lifetimes of lives beyond us that, we can only hear about through storytelling, through experiences, and all of that informs us and our experiences and our life going forward. And that is just such a beautiful sentiment because everything that they've done is just a stepping stone to everything that the future is going to be able to do to like live. I'm sorry, to carry the name. And I just thought it was so beautiful. And just thank you both for such a gorgeous, gorgeous book. Um,
Yeah.
thank you. And that line too. I hope that when kids are reading the story, that they're inspired to talk to their loved ones and know that as our loved ones get older and one day when they're not here in spirit, just like we learned with Llama Llama, that you always carry them in your heart and in your mind, that they can be that memory. They can tell stories, they can write songs, they can create music, they can draw, but they can continue to call their ancestors and their loved ones into the space everywhere they are.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
what a beautiful line.
especially in our African American history, there are certain limitations that our ancestors had. And when she said that in the book, there are going to be things that you're going to do that I was never able to do. That really oh, that hit home because that's what we're here for. We're here to carry the dream forward, you know, and many layers to this book. Beautiful job, Kelly.
You too, Tonya.
I do have one question for the Dewdney sisters, and then I see two questions in the chat that we will also get to. Berol and Cordelia, I just have to imagine that your mother drew so much inspiration from the both of you, as children and as you grew up. And I don't know, I'm curious if there was ever a book or an idea that maybe started as a discussion between like the three of you or like the household in general and, ended up turning into something like Llama Llama. I'm just curious to know if there's anything that you'd like to share about that.
Oh, I'll jump in. I mean, she was always talking about her ideas, and she has so many, like she had so many book ideas, and so they were always part of our kind of like day-to-day discussions, and the way that like the characters felt like members of our household because they were just so prevalent. Like the pictures were everywhere, like truly everywhere in the house. But then, we'd be talking about her book ideas or her storylines all the time because she was so creative and had so many ideas. Oh, I forgot the first part of your question. What was it?
If
I'll let
there's ever been
Berol jump
like
in.
a character or book that was inspired, not just inspired by the two of you, but I guess there's been like bigger discussions about it that you all like had input in.
I mean, I wish that like I wasn't a great sleeper, so unfortunately, I feel like certainly there's some elements of tantrum that I wish maybe I hadn't had those as a kid, but certainly did. Yeah, I'll let Beryl jump in.
Yeah, I think that we all little friends who are still here, if they're friends here, and grown-ups, we connect with the book because we see ourselves in Llama. We see the little llama in each of us, and even in Mama Llama. But Cordelia and I, as we all have all been known to make faces like this, right? We've all been nervous. We've all had big feelings, and so I think it's probably true. Julie and I had a little bit where did all of these things too. But a fun little anecdotal story is that we live in where we grew up in rural Vermont, and so when we would drive by animals, we would drive by the animals and ask our mom what noises they would make, and she would say, "Cows, cows go moo." And then one day we drove by llamas, and we were like, "Mommy, what do llamas make?" And she said, "Llama, llama, llama, llama." And so that was sort of the initial inspiration for the character right over here, Little Llama.
That is so adorable. And of course, like what else would llama say? Llama llama. That's adorable. Thank you both. I see two questions in the chat. I will throw the first one, I believe is for Kelly. What comments or questions from children do you hear when you read My Hands Tell a Story to them?
That's a great question. I often open up presentations with having kids share what their hands do, which is really beautiful when they think about all the powerful ways their hands can create change and create art and hold and touch and love and celebrate. I love that so much. And the comments that I hear, there are many ways that all of us are connected through relationships with elders who we love, great aunts and uncles, grandmas and granddads. So I often hear kids talking about that. Also in the story, Zoe and her grandma are baking cinnamon bread. And so I love when the kids share what their special traditions are in their homes and the ways that, just like with my grandma, it's not just about the baking and getting to enjoy what they're creating, but it's about that special time and the memories that are shared and moments that will last forever. That closeness that is really priceless.
And I want to mention, by the way, when you buy this book, you will see that there's actually the recipe for the cinnamon bread in the back, which I think is Kelly's actual grandma's recipe. And I've actually made this with my daughter once, and it's amazing.
Yes,
So you got to try it.
I will say the tricky thing about my recipes that I share. I have another book called Tea Cakes for Tosh. My grandmother, as she got older, began to forget her recipes. And living here, I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I got a name for the kind of cook my grandma was. She was a dump cook. So she didn't have the recipes written down. She didn't use recipe cards, didn't use a cookbook. They were in her heart. So when I recreate these things, I'm going from memory. I look at some old recipes. I talk to my mom and my aunts and my uncles. So it's kind of a little bit of grandma and some of me too.
I actually just have a follow-up on the topic of food. You in this book you shared, as you said, the recipe for cinnamon bread. Is there any recipes that you've created in your life that you were excited? Question to both of you, that you are excited to pass down to your family members?
Yeah, definitely. I make sweet potato muffins and sweet potato bread. That's something that my kids have had growing up. I make tea cakes. Now that is something my grandmother used to make that I make as well. I make caramel cake, kind of like Tonya. I love to bake, so there are many things that I will think about having when I was younger, and then kind of put my own twist onto it. So yeah, that and I hope that as my kids grow up, that they will continue those recipes and share them with their children or those who they love.
I'm personally pretty famous for my peach cobbler, which my family gobbles up every holiday, and they ask me to make 2 tins of it because it goes so quickly. And I've been teaching my daughter different dishes since she was very little. She now knows how to bake her own cupcakes. And my specialty happens to be cinnamon rolls.
Mhm.
She and her friends say I make the best cinnamon rolls in town. And if I wasn't an artist, I should make cinnamon rolls full time. So but baking, I'm an avid baker. I really enjoy it very much. But I love bringing people together, to taste and enjoy it afterwards.
Yeah, it's amazing how much food is such an important part of just family and culture and the passing down of traditions. And I relate very heavily with my mother and grandmother never writing anything down. So it's just seeing and doing and seeing and doing, and until you get it right, then you can start making your own additions and like little tweaks here and there to make it your own. So it's fun. I think that's the best way to cook if I'm being honest. Thank you both. Great recipes. Berol, Cordelia, I see a question in the chat asking if you both will be continuing your mom's legacy through books. And a follow-up from me. How do these books I guess when you're going through the day-to-day, you know, life things, how do these books kind of like help you?
I touched a little bit on this earlier, but our mom had so many book ideas and so many characters. And so, Beryl and I are certainly so excited to continue to do all that we can to get her stories out there. Um, and the ones that haven't yet been out there, but are just waiting to be there. Because she was so creative and had such a passion for what she did that she was just always creating. So there's definitely so much more from her. Uh, and then like I mean, these books help me every day because it's like I get to hear my mom's voice, and that's incredibly meaningful and special. But I think as little ones and as adults, it's helpful to have these stories about getting to have your big feelings, but learning to regulate a little bit. And also as a reminder of what Beryl had said in her read aloud, that, the people who love you, they're always in your heart, and vice versa. It's a really powerful message that certainly with my mother, I carry that in my brain every day. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I think, what Cordelia already said, our mom had so much heart to give to this world, and we're just so grateful to continue to work with Penguin and for all that is to come. As a teacher, I sort of have this just blessing beyond words to be able to do the work that makes my heart happy alongside my mom every day in this really beautiful way. So personally, outside of the classroom, that line in the book that Mama Llama's always near, even when or always here, even when she's not, always near, even when she's not right here, is something that I need to hear every day. And so I hold that in my heart. But to be able to see how her work touches the heart of the people I love most in the world, my students, and kids across my school. I'll even have middle schoolers come down the hall and be like, "Miss Julie, I got your mom's book," and it's just so I don't have words for how touching that is, and I know that nothing would make her happier than to see the continuation of that spirit of love, of your heart being really strong, of giving your heart to others. And Tonya and Kelly so beautifully continue that legacy as well in their own way. So we're just so excited to be here with all of you. And my mom would also want to say, in the same way that she used her art and that we're doing this using our art, friends who are listening, if there are still little kid friends there, you guys have amazing stories and amazing pictures to create and amazing things for this world to read and take in. And so we're so excited to cheer you on as you go out into the world and you make really awesome books like you saw today that we can read from you someday.
So beautiful. And that's so special that the two of you get to hold that, because I'm sure millions and millions of people read those books and just hold them so close to them. And what a special and unique experience to know that those books are specifically for the two of you. And that's beautiful. Thank you both. This was so much fun. Thank you all so much. We had a blast. I hope everyone watching over Zoom is, having a great time. We want to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join us and share the joy that is the Anna Dewdney Read Together Award every year that I work on this. I'm just always so happy about the outcome and the authors that I get to meet and the people that make this all possible. Thank you to Penguin, Every Child a Reader, and the Children's Book Council. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.